doing? Welcome to another episode of Paranormal, the New Normal. I am your host, as always, Jeremy, and I am here to try to make the world seem a little more normal in these horrible times. And tonight, my guest is going to help us figure out how to do that. As well, let's just start off with her name is Sarah Strong, and I connected with her on Matchmaker.fm back in May or June, and I've been waiting for this episode for 2 or 3 months, or even longer than that actually. I've had plenty of time to think on this, and she is a many things, but a light worker to begin with, a Starseed, which I've had one of those in my show before, so I do know that ground a little bit. And she is so much more. I don't. Why don't I let her tell you what she does? Sarah, how you doing tonight?
I'm really well, Jeremy. Thanks so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. So, my title in general is Intuitive Life Coach, and I add to that a Starseed coach and Divine Feminine Activation coach. So, I channel spirit so that I hold space so people can align spiritually and open their world up in ways that they haven't had access before. Because once they are in the co-creation of what we co-create together, they're in touch with their guides, all the spirit realm based in the light. I am purely based in the light. As you said, I'm a light worker. So we base all of that energies in the light. So once we open that channel, their guides come through. I work with dragon energy, a lot of starseed energy, the divine feminine, Jesus, all the ascended masters. I have a huge contingency of my guide team are the Native American people. I have a lot of them that also support the energy work that I do.
Yeah, that right there is so much to digest. Like people are just like, wow, where do you find time to breathe even? So but the one thing that okay, I'm just gonna start with the one thing in there that stuck out with me, and that was the word dragon, which I've yet to hear anyone use that term. It was dragon energy, I believe.
Yeah, dragons. Yeah.
What does that entail? Because I'm dying to know.
So recently, most recently anyway, I went on a retreat to Sedona. And one of the boyfriend of the lady who was running the retreat, he was there. It was a woman's retreat, but he was helping her, and he was there to do like a sound workshop or sound healing with us. And I just started to. He was really connected to the dragons, and the dragons have been talking to me for many years now. But kind of sidelined because their energy field has never been as strong on Earth as it is right now, because they are guardians of other dimensions. They're actually guardians. They're guardians of the gateways to each dimension. So there will be a dragon presence at each gateway to each dimension. And so what one day, actually last year around this time, actually it was the 23rd of September last year, I sent my life coach. I have somebody who holds space for me as well. I sent her a labradorite stone. Now, these labradorite stones are actually known as the dragon stone, and she's the one who brought it to my attention. I sent her this labradorite necklace, and then she started researching labradorite connected to dragons, and then so it really that started to align me with dragon energy. And then in Sedona recently, I bought the Tarot of Dragons, and there's these really beautiful, I know listeners, you can't see this, but I'm showing Jeremy my tarot deck, the Tarot of Dragons by Sean. Is it Sean Mackenzie? And the imagery is so brilliant and so otherworldly. And so I've started to work with this deck, and so more people have actually been drawn to me that are connected with the dragon realms of late because they've been more in alignment with my energy. So I do some magical events online for myself, and I got to dress up as the embodiment of this dragon energy that is coming into my life. So I keep a lot of little dragons around, like little soft toy dragons, and I've got like a ceramic what's it called? A little ornament dragon coming out of an egg. And so my encouragement actually to everyone is, if you have a feeling, so maybe you've always felt like you could talk to fairies, or that the fairies were around you, or unicorns, or mermaids, or any other elemental being, be it dragons or gnomes, even like the little people, any of those other worldly creatures, or even connections to certain past lives. It's like, it's so empowering when you connect to those past lives and you start to really embody that energy, because they all have wisdom for you that you can embody in this lifetime. And as you draw from that wisdom, it can enhance your life in so many different ways. So actually on my social media, I did a live when I dressed up as my dragon, and I kind of talked a lot about that. I talked through like how to do the makeup, how to really start to embody and encourage that energy to flow into the third dimension, because you can anchor that energy here by doing like a number of very, very simple things. So yeah, I talk a lot about that in on my social media and stuff. So I'm sure I'll tell you that at the end of the episode. But for now, how does that land with you, Jeremy?
Ooh, well, my first question, first and foremost, because this is a paranormal show, and I would probably get stoned out of podcasting if I didn't ask it. When you say dragons, do you mean, well, like, because I've actually talked to people on the show before who are investigators who have dealt with actual sightings of dragons in Pennsylvania, nonetheless. But so, do you believe that either A, dragons did exist at one point on Earth, or B, they still do exist on Earth at somewhere that are just not commonly seen?
Well, I've never heard of that, but I believe it. I believe that they could be here on Earth. See, what happens with like other dimensional and multidimensional beings is that they can cloak themselves. They could be here, and they just cloaked. And then they can uncloak themselves if they wanted to be seen. Maybe they wanted to be known to the people in Pennsylvania who saw them. They can just uncloak themselves and then recloak themselves. They have that ability to do that. So I absolutely believe that they can have a presence on Earth. I have not seen them myself, but absolutely believe that that's possible.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What you're referring to, for my listeners who haven't heard me say it before, are ultra terrestrial beings, which are just interdimensional beings of a sort, and they can usually hide themselves from people. A lot of people believe that Bigfoots are ultra terrestrial, dogmen, and all these creatures that we love in the paranormal field. A lot of people believe they're ultra terrestrial. Even
Yep.
aliens, to some degree, people believe are ultra terrestrial because that's how they travel. They go through dimensions
Yep.
to get to Earth faster. But
Yep.
so, yeah, I like that. I like that logic. I really do. And so, when you harness your dragon energy, what does it give you? Like, does it give you like the ferocity and power of a dragon, basically? Or I mean, I don't want to simplify it to that if it's a lot more, but what would you say it is?
So my dragon energy specifically. So my dog is connected to so I have two dragons that travel with me. His name is Pedro. Obviously, he's a man, and then my other one is Esmeralda, and she is a female dragon. And so Pedro, I just had him channeled by some other channelers that I work with that are in my tribe. And so Pedro connects me to, I have a very ancient, they call me the ancient one, like my guides and different beings, the Council of Light and other beings along those lines. They call me the Ancient One. So I've been on Earth a lot. I've traveled multidimensionally, like to multiple star systems, universes, for millions of Earth years. In there is no time structure in these other dimensions, so they don't call them years. I'll just call them Earth years, just for the sake of understanding. So Pedro actually connects me more deeply to my ancient past and all of those past lives. Like they are yeah, less for, I mean, yes, he actually came through my session the other day and was telling me to remember like the power of fire, and not just how we see it. It's not just a destroyer, but it's a creator as well. Well, on Earth, we, a lot of people would fear fire. Well, he was like kind of calling me to feel into the power and the beauty of fire. It's very cleansing and things like that. So, but yeah, so that's specifically how he connects me in. So the thing is they really can serve you in whatever you need, because they're in touch with this 5D energy, this very, very high frequency of energy. So if you feel like you're connected to the dragon realm and you want to get more in touch with them, you could just go into meditation. So in meditation, what happens when you shut your eyes, you're closing off from the ego, you're closing off from this illusory dimension that we're in, and then you can tune into a higher frequency of energy just through your breath. Like literally oxygen will raise your frequency, and then you can be at a frequency where you can hear messages, or you can feel feelings, or get messages or words come in. It just depends on how you receive your messages from the dragon realm.
Right on, right on. Which and how would people know if they are connected to this? Like, if they feel something, like how are they gonna know it's the dragon realm per se that they're connected to?
So you can, it depends on how you see. Some of you may have visions of these dragons. What I also encourage is to go and Google dragons, and Google them, and then feel all of the different energies, the different colors, how they're showing up. You could Google Chinese dragon, Japanese dragon, mythical dragon, all of these forms, and then you can start to see them. So in your meditation, you could just think or feel, like put one of those in your mind's eye and just focus on that to start to get a connection. And really, it's around trusting, having faith, and belief. Because as you're starting to open this channel, the ego mind will try and talk you out of your magic, will try and talk you out of their wisdom, because it's not from the ego. The ego wants you to be completely set, like the ego wants to be center. So as soon as you try and do anything that takes the ego out of place, the ego will try and pull you back and try and discredit everything that you know you're feeling and seeing. So it's like it's the practice and it's the trust that needs to be in place. It's like telling the ego, hey, I want to do this. I want to have a different experience of being human, of being on Earth. So please, would you step aside while I connect with my dragon? And it's really trusting that that information, if it feels good, trust that the information is coming from where you intended it to come from. So if you sit into meditation and say, my intention is to connect to the dragon realm, my dragons who are here to serve my highest and best, would you please channel in or come into my meditation space right now? And then trust that those messages are from your dragon. Maybe you receive nothing, but as you encourage the energy, you need to encourage the flow and sit in silence in meditation to create the space for them to fill. Because if there's too much mental clutter and noise going on, there's not enough space for that information to drop through.
Makes sense, makes sense. And it falls in line with a lot of the other information I've been told over time about meditation and activating different energies. Like, it's just basically you gotta just try it and see what comes to you, see what energies
Yeah.
are reaching out to you to try to get there. And I mean, yeah, but actually, okay. Well, let me go back to this because I usually start every episode with this, but completely the dragon thing made me go for a loop, and I completely forgot to ask this. How did you get into the paranormal slash spiritual world? Like, what led you down this path?
That's a beautiful question. Thank you for asking it, Jeremy. When I was 4 years old, or even younger, like I've been gifted to being psychic, telepathic, a medium channel, and empath since I was born with these gifts. So from as early as I can remember, I was hearing. I believe my mum. I was born into a Christian home, and my mum was always talking about Jesus. So I feel like Jesus was the first person that channeled through me at a very very young age, and I had no like comprehension of what was happening. And as I grew up, I I knew I was different. I knew that, the things that were coming through me were not of me. They were not human. They were higher frequency, a higher frequency of energy that was coming through me. Because I was talking to my mom and she didn't really want to hear what I had to say. A lot of it was very high level truth. And for people very rooted in their ego, it's very difficult to hear that. So I spent a lot of time trying to quiet the voice, trying to shut it off. I did have many years of struggling with drugs and alcohol. And as I came out of that, I started to learn that these are actual gifts that I get. I'm here to help people with these gifts. And then I started to enhance them. Then I got an intuitive life coach that opened up me becoming a coach. In 2020, I started training as a coach, as an intuitive life coach. And then that helped me to really harness and to accept that everything that I was told I was wrong for having was now a total gift that I could hold space for people to really change their lives. And so it was a very empowering time for me. I also had previously aligned with the Ascended Master Energy. I got guided to read this a book called Crystal Masters 333 by Alana Fairchild. She is an Australian author, and I have this book actually listed on my recommended reading page on my website as well. So if you want to check up and even purchase the book, if you want to get aligned with the Ascended Master Energy, it's there for you to have a look at. So this started, and then I trained as a coach, and then I started to work with people, and that was just the most beautiful experience, because I had been told that everything that I am, all the things that I heard, the things that I channeled from the majority of my life, I was told that I was wrong. That was, my mum couldn't understand how I had all this knowledge and wisdom as a child, and then to have that fully turn around. I'm still working out those kinks today, literally. Listening to hard shit most of my life about that I'm wrong. It takes time to undo all of that, and I still work with a coach today. I actually have two coaches at the moment, in a group program and one-on-one, and business, magical business coaching as well. So I get a lot of coaching because of I had quite a traumatic childhood, and I'm coaching out all the things that the little blockages that come up. So yeah, that's how I got into it. I kind of was destined to be in this role as a child. I always knew. I had this feeling in my heart as a kid that I was here to change the world. And then I started talking to people throughout my life, and they're like, yeah, we don't share that same sentiment. And I was shocked. I thought everyone was like me. I thought everyone wanted to, be a better person and save the world. But I realized, like, pretty early on that I was kind of on my own with that. But now I get to realize and really step into those shoes of holding space, seeing the changes in people's lives and the world around me, and knowing that I'm here to see the light from these other dimensions. That's the being that I have created myself to be this time around.
Which that right there is admirable as could be, and it's true. It's true because I always growing up was the same way. I mean, I didn't go the exact same path you did, but I did always feel like I was meant to do something in this world. Like I had a purpose. Like, and I've been a huge believer in fate and fate, destiny, whatever you want to call it, for a long time now, and that's actually what led me to do this podcast. Is I felt it was my destiny to finally do a paranormal podcast, which I dreamed about for a decade. So I just always felt I felt it was time, and according to a lot of mediums and psychics I talked to, I wasn't wrong. But I don't know. Well, I'll see. We'll see what the future holds, for me at least. But
Mm-hmm.
I do,
Amazing.
I do appreciate you opening up like that, though. I 100% do. So
Thank you.
let's talk about, because you are a Starseed coach, I believe, right?
Yes.
And I had a Starseed on this show a couple months ago, London Wolf from Wolf Healing, and she's one of the only people I ever talked to actually who claimed to be a Starseed, and she gave me a basic overview of what a Starseed is, but it's a subject that I want to delve more into just because I find it fascinating. I mean, so as a Starseed coach, how how do you find clients? Like that's my first question actually. Is like, how do you find clients? Do they come searching for you? Are they like drawn to you by some force or?
Yes, that's a really beautiful question. I do lots of different things. I do a lot of posting on Instagram and Facebook. So some people come through there. A lot of people come through when I go to events, different events. I love sound healing. I love like plant ceremony. I meet a few people like that. Just going to women's circles and trips to Sedona. I've met a lot of people like that, and online and just friends. A lot of my clients become my friends and then work with me, or work with me then become my friend. So there's lots and lots of different places. What I feel is that with I do lots of work on myself, and I do lots of fun events that I've done my starseed makeup a lot, and then I'll go online and I'll do some channeling online for people to connect with that. And we do things like that in the workshops that I do. So the starseed workshops, most people ever, I mean, 100% of people on earth today are starseed beings, whether they've just had one lifetime in the stars or many. And oftentimes those beings will suffer. This is how to know if you're a starseed. You probably have had some form of tumultuous upbringing. There'll be some form of abuse, be it mental, social, spiritual, psychological, sexual, physical, mental, some kind of abuse from a parent, either mother or father. And then there will be like feeling of a disposition that you're not from here. You'll feel like you're not of earth. Why are you here? You may suffer from fibromyalgia. You may suffer from other forms of like very like lupus, other really painful manifestations in the body. So be it, muscular, mental, blood, like there is other things that manifest in the physical body in feeling like that you're not supposed to be here. That is very, very, very common as a starseed. And then so the unraveling of that energy is what I have come to help facilitate. I know there's many, many people out there doing that as well, and it's like, if you don't find me, then find someone else to help you, because these things can be healed. Even fibromyalgia, lupus, I know lupus is quite a serious condition, but you can have I've had a client who had lupus, and the work that we did together helped ease the pain and helped her integrate. Like, she connected with two amazing guides that have really helped her in her life and open up doors to new employment and new, avenues of abundance, and open up new friendships and relationships. So what happens when you align to who you truly are, which is this amazing starseed with all these gifts? Most of you will probably be either telepathic, a medium, definitely all of them, all of you out there who are empathic. It's a starseed trait, very strong starseed trait. And when you learn to harness these gifts and have them work for you instead of against you, as you've probably felt most of your life, you will really it will just start, you'll be able to live in a much more uplifted, much more fun way, and you will be able to fulfill the purpose that you came here to fulfill, which can be anything from a healer to just like anchoring the most joy and bliss that you can here. It might be raising an amazing family and amazing children who will be part of, you know, the age of Aquarius in the future. So it's important, like it's very important work for all you starseeds out there to really align with who you truly are within. And then some of these hardships and some of the things that you're going through at the moment will start to fall away, and you will be able to have a much more enlightened and peaceful life.
Very well put. Very well put, I will say. And that is that took my question, and that went even further than I hoped it would. So I am very happy with that answer. But just
Thanks.
for those who don't know, and just because I like to get multiple people's perspectives on things, what is a star seed? Like, in your opinion, what is a star seed? Because I've heard it told me before, but I'd like to hear people's perspectives because everybody has different perspectives.
So a star seed, so let's start with a star being. So star beings are beings that live on other dimensions. So the first ones that come through are the Pleiadians. This is the most, they are the closest to Earth. They have authorization to have the most influence on Earth as well. There's the Galactic Federation of Light, which does like direct certain star beings of how much influence they can have on Earth. So as a star being, they can be from, there's beings called the Arcturians, Pleiadians, Lyrans, Sirians, Hedarians. There's beings from Orion, the Venusians from Venus. There's Martians. Obviously, we've all heard of Martians. They are literally a star being. They tend, most of those first ones tend to be benevolent. There is some who are malevolent. The Greys, you may have heard of the Greys. The Anunnaki, another one that have been quite destructive on planet Earth. And so what a star seed is any of those beings that are on other dimensions. You may have had a past life on that specific dimension, and you've chosen, because what happens on Earth is we get to experience all the senses, which they don't exist on other dimensions. So that being chooses to come through as being human, and that human with that star energy inside of them is a star seed.
Okay, so yeah, and Palladians is the one I always remember. All the other names I can never remember for the life of me, but
Yeah.
Palladian sticks in my head for some reason. I don't know why. It's so when you say that the Greys have done a lot of damage on Earth, what do you mean by that? I mean, I have a feeling I know what you mean, but I just want to see if we're on the same page with that.
So Earth used to be a planet of total joy and bliss, and not enslaved to, you know, the feeding the ego into the flesh, you know, like overeating, over drinking, you know, just like here on this very, very low frequency of energy of being, okay, we just come here to eat, sleep, shit, die, procreate. They've reduced the human psyche to believing that that's all there is by a number of different things, by polluting media, education, creating the pharmaceutical industry, creating, you know, these lower vibrational frequencies that they could. And what also they had an effect on it's not just the Greys. There's a huge, like, there's more of them. There's the Anunnaki and the Greys, and there's others as well. They're reptilians. There's there's a lot of others. That's not just them. We had a much more dynamic and intricate DNA system, and they reduced it to very few strands of DNA. So that's what created us to not be in touch with the third eye energy, which connects us to the divinity and the knowledge that we are multidimensional. And then that caused humanity to believe that the third dimension was the only dimension, and that cut off the multidimensional knowingness. and then they enslaved humanity and used the energy of the other DNA for their own benefit. They were not happy because Earth was somewhere to just come, play, experience the senses, have fun, ascend, and go on to greener pastures. That was the plan initially. This was like millennia ago. That's I was one of the first Pleiadians to come to Earth and to decide that this is what we were going to do. That us as soul beings, really, the star beings only had the soul, didn't have the body. But we wanted to see how fun it could be to be in body, experience all the senses, learn about each other, and uplift each other. That was what the whole plan was supposed to be here. And it is coming back to that with the Age of Aquarius. There will, like, the stronghold of the malevolent star beings has been challenged and won over by the light. So we, as you see, there's so much chaos going on right now in the world. That chaos, out of that chaos will come the ascension of all beings who so desire to ascend.
Which, yes, and you said reptilians, and I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that to come in because whenever there's evil talked about, it's reptilians always because they
Yeah.
are pure evil. But at least that's what we're made to believe. But and it's funny you mentioned that because I bring this up in almost every show I do because I've been told multiple times that there was a spiritual awakening happening in the world on this planet, and that it started roughly 5 to 10 years ago, and that since then it's just been building and building, and that more and more people are accessing things they couldn't access before with their mind.
Yep.
And apparently you believe that's true as well?
Absolutely, yeah. I believe it started very strongly. There was a very big uplift of the energy here in 2012.
Ooh, you are the second person on my show to say that year when it comes to spiritual awakening. And every time someone says that, I'm just like, the Mayan calendar. Like,
Yeah.
is that maybe that is what the Mayan calendar was pointing towards, not towards an apocalypse per se, but kind of a new era starting in a way almost. Like, so that's synchronicity. I love it. I think you're actually the second interview in a row I had for the show that said that, which that just right there is wow. That just blew my mind a little bit. I wasn't expecting that to come out of your mouth, but I'm happy it did. I'm happy it did. And you keep saying Age of Aquarius, which I mean, I'm sure all the ignorant people out there like me know the song, but what is the Age of Aquarius supposed to actually be when it comes about? How will we recognize it?
So it's about awakening, about like more and more souls on this planet are awakening right now. As the Earth went into her full ascension in probably coming, maybe like it started in March 2020, the ascension of the planet, as the Mother Earth got a break from, all the planes and everyone moving. That was essential to have that pause in for humanity. So the Age of Aquarius supports all of that energy. It's the full awakening of the human psyche. It's the full coming into alignment of the truth. We will live in a place that's centered in pure love and compassion. Will be based on truth and trust instead of greed and mistrust. So, yeah, the Age of Aquarius is this beautiful energy and I mean, there's planetary alignments. There's all these, literally everything supports that. The Earth physically, spiritually, energetically is supported by that Age of Aquarius energy.
So it started in. So you're saying that that COVID Corona was possibly something that nature made happen, or
Oh, it was planned by the Galactics. And I
really
know
now?
that it's probably going to be a little bit controversial, but we actually planned that. Well, we planned this timeline. I've traveled this timeline multiple times, and we didn't get it quite right. But this time, the lockdown was planned by the galactics. War, like there was options that war was one of the options. I know that sounds bad, but like we were like, no, that's going to be too discombobulating for the human psyche. We want it to be really passive and allow people to look at themselves and find who they really are again. Actually, it's so funny that you say that, because they showed me a vision, and they've mentioned this before. My guides mentioned this before to me, but if the Earth kept going at the rate of knots it was going in before March 2020, that I have had the message come from my guides that in about 50 years, all of humanity would have imploded. There was too much focus on greed and, like technology, and just like going in the wrong direction. It would have pretty much decimated themselves had they not had that pause. So the whole situation was in total service to Earth, and the people dying, the people they chose to leave here, it was all in service to the ascension of Mother Earth and the ascension of humanity.
Which I can understand that, actually. That makes sense. And people kept saying that the Earth would be ending like within like 30, 40, 50 years. They always said, oh, it won't happen in your lifetime, but it'll happen in your children's lifetime or their children's lifetime. Like, that's the way it always was put when I was younger and like a teenager, because we were basically burning our planet out to the point where it's gonna just stop working for us completely. So
Yeah, we're just
maybe
coming to a very strong imbalance, and anyway, the Earth would get it would have we would have ceased to exist in a much shorter period of time than was planned from a soul's perspective.
And it's interesting that like with all these changes, like more people are working from home now. More there are more mediums, more psychics, more empaths, and all those types of people that would come down on like Facebook, Instagram. Like I see more of that now than I ever did in the past, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like all these people offering their services, and they do stuff for free all the time. Yes, of course, they charge sometimes, but people got to make a living. I understand that. I'm not going to hate people for charging. Like it's just you got to
Yeah.
make a living somehow. I mean, I try to make money off my podcast sometimes too, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, we need money to survive in this world. I wish we didn't, but we do. I would
That's
love to go
quite
back to.
it's quite an archaic, having
Yeah.
like the financial system the way it is very archaic. In other dimensions that it doesn't exist.
Ooh. So we do have a request from a listener or watcher. You
Uh-huh.
don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but if it's up to
Uh-huh.
you.
Sure. About anything in particular, Linda?
Well, while we're waiting for that,
Mm-hmm.
and I totally just lost my line of thought of where I wanted to go next. But actually, so where do you see Earth heading in the next, say, 100 years? Like, where do you think our society will be in like 100 years?
Well, there's two Earths that are starting to be created. There's New Earth and there's Old World Earth. So Old World Earth will keep going on, will be still based in greed and destruction, really, of themselves. So Old Earth will probably cease to exist within, I would say, within 100 years for sure. But New Earth will be based in a society where people love and care for each other, and we share. It's based on truth and knowing that we are all connected, knowing that we're here to support one another, to give to one another, to love one another, and it will go on forever. We don't need to die. We don't need to die anymore. We can exist, we can ascend, We can keep this body if we want. Life becomes a choice of how you like that. We will no longer believe the paradigm that you need to die anymore. There's no need to die. There's a huge paradigm shift.
Interesting. And Linda did reply, so I'll let you get to that. I'll let us get to that before I go on my next part of that. But
Oh wow, okay, cool.
so
Is that the question? Is she
I'm not sure if Linda, is that your question, or are you?
I just want to say, Linda, if you're watching, that is a very private and personal question that you're asking, and we are airing this live, and I'm sure this is going to go out onto many different platforms. If you'd like to connect with me on Facebook, go to Sarah Strong. Yeah, I would prefer to do this privately. So, Linda, let me see if I can add you on Facebook. Even I would much prefer to do this as a private message. So, would that be okay? Yeah. Okay, brilliant. So, go to I'm Sarah Strong on Facebook. Just add me there and even send me a private message, and I would love to answer that for you. It's just very, very private and very, very personal. So I wouldn't want to do that live here.
So okay, well, I like that reply right there.
Thanks, Linda.
I love when there's nice gratitude. So you said older than New Earth. Are you talking about like two actual physical different planets, or is it just going to be the same planet but divided?
It's a good question. It's the same planet but divided. It's really an energetic shift internally. So, and then what occurs when you make that energetic shift inside is the old people will fall away. People won't get you anymore. If you're resonating at a different frequency, your old friends, even your family, even your job, they will just fall away, and you'll come into living in a new world for yourself. So those kinds of things, like your world will just look different, it will feel different, it will sound different, there'll be different people in it. And yeah, you just be different. You literally change the game inside. That's what happens when you have a spiritual awakening. You can no longer talk mindlessly, go drinking for 2 days straight, or talk mindlessly about stupid shit. You need to talk about meaningful things with people. Like you engage in a conversation and it's deep and it's beautiful and it's awakening. You can no longer just talk mindlessly for hours with people. Like these things they will cease to exist. Like they will, or they'll be shorter, and then you'll be like, oh, I can't really talk to that person anymore. They're not on my wavelength. Literally.
Makes sense. And yeah, I haven't been able to go out and drink for 2 days straight in about 10 years, but that's just me
Exactly, because
personally.
it's such a low vibration.
Yeah, as fun as it was back in the day, but now it's just my body couldn't take it anymore if I tried. But
Yeah, me
I
too.
I mean, I do. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy a good drink, but it's just I can't do it nonstop anymore. It just isn't fun. Which
Yep.
it's funny, and that's the reason I started this show was because I wanted to have deep conversations with people about different topics in the spiritual paranormal world. And yes, I mean, it's amazing to have a full hour conversation about Bigfoot or Dogman, but which is actually
Yeah.
when I started this podcast, that's what I expected every episode to be. It wasn't until I started and started getting the guests I got that the spiritual side came out, and I was like, the spiritual side's even more interesting than the like physical cryptid side. Like it's just
Mm.
more mind opening and awakening of it. And I've been saying on the show for months, a couple months now, that I think I am going through some kind of spiritual awakening of my own because whenever I talk to psychics and mediums, there's a little fuzzy feeling right up here in the top of my head that I can't get rid
Mm.
of until the conversation's over. And
Yep.
it's almost like my eyes are playing different tricks with light too when it happens. So it's strange. It's just strange. It's weird, and I love it. Like it's just I
That's an
want to.
energy activation. Getting connected to spirit. That's because we are like I've basically opened a channel. You know, when you came on just before I had my eyes closed, I was sitting in a channel, opening the channel for all of my guides to come in and direct what I was saying today. And then
And I
you're
saw,
feeling that energy.
which yeah, which I've been told that before, and I I do believe it's true to some degree. Well, I believe it's true. I mean, I do, and I keep saying like it can happen faster. I'm good with that, but I'll give it the time it needs to fully develop. But
It takes
it's
time.
yeah, I was actually supposed to get a past life regression done a couple weeks ago, but she had an emergency in the family and couldn't do it that day. I got to reach out to her again because I think that's a big part of it. Is I got to figure out my past lives to figure out where I am now. Kind of,
Yeah,
you know,
it's beautiful.
you can't know your present unless you know your past. But
Hmm.
well, this part I'm gonna do. I'm gonna ask this question for the female listeners I have because I do have a good amount of female listeners of this show,
Yep.
and the feminine activation, which is actually not a topic I really have brought up in the show ever before because no one I brought on really said they do it. So,
Yep.
what does that entail for women, and why is it beneficial to them? Kind of a two-parter.
Yeah. So what I'm just writing it down, sorry, add it to my notes later. So the divine feminine is actually in men and women. So we all have a masculine version, like a masculine energy and a feminine energy inside of us. What's happened, it's easier to tell you what it's not and then go into what it is. So what's happened in the collective consciousness with the feminine in the, say, in the last 100 years, is it got shut down by the toxic masculine, by the overbearing masculine energy here. And so what happened is, to enter the workforce, what a woman had to do was go into her masculine and be in her masculine if she was going to be successful in any stretch as a woman. And what that did is it shifted the balance inside of her beliefs to kind of make women believe that that's what they had to do. Whereas, I mean, that's been shifting for a long time already. Like the last 50 years, obviously, it's been more than really has been, an uprising of women doing whatever they needed to do and being in the workforces as feminine women as well. It's just in the collective, there's more richness and there's more depth of the feminine that wants to be realized, and it lies in the women's in a woman's body. So it's getting in touch. So basically what it takes to awaken the divine feminine within, there is things that are in the psyche usually that are blocking the connection to this energy. A lot of them are inner child wounds, there are relationship wounds, they are when I burp, it's clearing the channel. So there is a lot of this energy inside of your audience, Jeremy, and for you listeners out there. So if this is landing for you, maybe it is a sign that we could work together. So it is clearing out these blocks within that either have made you believe that you're not worthy of feeling your divine feminine. They've taken you away from feeling that real deep sensuality in your body. They've told you, like, maybe you got scolded as a child for doing something sexual, that told you that being sexual was bad, and then that caused a number of different outcomes. Either you completely shut down, or completely opposite to shutting down the sexuality, you went right into the sexuality. Is pretty much what I did as a child into my life. I got scolded as a kid for doing something sexual. I don't really even know. I think it was just touching myself, and that's one of the most natural things to do as a child, is to be like, oh, that feels good. Oh, and a lot of parents of our generation, I'm 46, so a lot of parents of that generation were extremely shut down sexually, and there weren't I mean, don't get me wrong, awakening the divine feminine is not only sexual, it is also sensual, and there is a beautiful, very sacred divine embodiment of this energy that will just help you to feel more anchored in your femininity, in your body. It will help you feel happier. It'll help you just feel comfortable how your body is showing up right now. It'll help you just feel more fun and yummy and more expressive in your femininity. It'll help you get in touch with all of your emotions, the spectrum of your emotions. It'll help you have deeper feeling in your life when it's activated. So really, it's the clearance of these wounds and maybe some trauma points that will help. That's what this activation is about. So when I channel the goddess. So when I channel the goddess in these sessions, it is often what I do is I ask everyone to bring in a topic that they would like to have channeled by the goddess. And a lot of it is about self-love. How can I feel more self-love? How can I accept who I am? How can I, do my inner child work that will open up this channel to having more self-worth? And then we workshop into that energy. So it's very complex and simple at the same time. It's really what do you feel is getting in your way of being the most feminine, in your most feminine power and the highest vibration of your feminine power, going there, feeling into what that is, and then doing some things that we do meditation activations. We also do dance activations. I do VIP days where we could spend a whole weekend doing a number of different things, fire ceremonies, one-on-one coaching, all of these things like combined into one whole, like into actually 2.5 to 3 days of work, where those wounds get addressed and healed and then integrated and then put in steps into your life that you can actually maintain these changes as well.
Beautiful. I love that. I mean, and fortunately, I didn't grow up with parents like that. Exactly. I mean, I was always told that's something you do in private. You don't do that in public. Like that's as far as they ever told me. But I also grew up with very sexually repressed parents, so I kind of get that to a certain degree. And naturally, well, remind me after we get off live to ask you something. But it's just something I'm not going to bring up on a live. But
yeah,
100%. So you say it's for men too, as well, though. Where do men play into that? So, like, is it the same kind of way they play into that, or like, because of course, men have feminine energy to some degree as well. I mean, of course,
yeah.
but
So the imbalance of men not being in their divine masculine and divine feminine is that maybe they're emotionally shut down, maybe emotionally unavailable, feeling like it's not okay to tell maybe their loved one or friends when they're not feeling well or they're not feeling good, like as in not as in sick, but not feeling, maybe they're depressed or anxious or not feeling great in their emotional life. It's that energy of not feeling the freedom to fully express where you are in the moment. That would be a product of not being in touch with that divine feminine. And then the masculine is probably at a low energy point as well. And awakening those two energies within, being feeling like you're in your divine masculine and then having this balance of the divine feminine as well, it means that you have this full easy expression of your emotions. If you feel sad, or if you feel angry, if you feel left out, or any number of different emotions in the spectrum of emotions, you have the freedom to, maybe it's one specific person that's triggered this emotion, and you pull that person aside and say, look, I'm having this reaction to something that you've just said. Would you help me work through it with me? It's having this language of, I'm having an emotion, I'm having a reaction, I'm having a trigger point to something external to me, then asking that person, would you help me work through this? That would be a balance of the masculine and feminine. So the feminine will help you get in touch with your feelings and your emotions, and and finding some language around it, whereas your divine masculine we'll have this like holding space for that to occur, and this strength and the groundedness to be present while you're working through some of these more sensitive topics.
Right. Wow. I mean, and that makes sense to me too, because I mean, one of my good friends, another podcaster, does a podcast for men, and one of his famous sayings on it always is like, when we were growing up, we were told like you get hurt or you get upset, you get told basically rub some dirt on it and move on with your day. Like we weren't supposed to show
Exactly.
emotions when we were young
Yeah,
because we're men. Like we're gonna be men one day. You don't show your emotions when you're men. You just deal with what you gotta deal with and make sure everybody else is provided for. Like the
that's true.
very old the very old school masculine look that lasted until the at least late 90s, I'd say. And
It still
yeah, I
happens
mean,
today.
it does. I mean, I still meet guys today that you know the type as soon as you freaking start talking to them and they'll never the type that say like, "Oh, I never cried in my life." Like, yeah, okay, buddy. I'm sure in the shower in your bedroom at night alone you did some crying, but good on you to try to lie about that, but good on you. But I mean, just yeah, I get that. I mean, I've had to come to grips with some of my own emotional difficulties over that type of stuff over the last 5 6 years, so I totally get that. But I'll just ask this: Is there if there's one message you can give listeners that you want them to definitely hear and be able to understand, what is it? Like your final word, say.
So my business is called Shine Your Diamond, and I know this to be true that every single person on this planet, whether you identify as Starseed or anything else, like man, woman, other, they, them, anything, you have a diamond inside of you that you may have realized it or you may have not, but know that you have a diamond within you that is your authentic self, the highest vibration of your authenticity, that when you find it and you start to shine it and you start to commit to yourself in that authenticity, your life will start to transform and you will feel at peace, you will feel a stillness, and you will feel a joy and bliss in your life that is your birthright. That is what you came here to get back to. And if you're not there, then know that it is part of who you are. It is part of your birthright. It is part of what you get to experience here on earth. So keep going. If you haven't realized it yet, keep going. If you have, awesome and huge blessings to you all. Lots and lots and lots of love.
Right on, right on. And did you mention your website there or no? I didn't think I heard.
No, so my website is my name, Sarah, SarahJstrong.com. You can book a session with me, a full hour session. You can book a 30-minute channeling session with me there. That's on my offerings page. So feel free to go to the offerings page, have a little look around. If you would like to connect with me on Instagram, it is Sarah, SARAH underscore THE underscore STRONG, Sarah underscore the underscore strong. And feel free to send me a private message if you would like to connect directly. And I'm really happy to connect in that way. And on Facebook, I'm Sarah Strong. My friends are almost at 5,000. So I'd rather you connect with me on Instagram to ensure that that we can connect. So yeah, feel free to message me directly. I'm very open and I love having conversations. If you feel like there's some alignment to work together, please say that, and then we'll jump on a phone call. We can do a connection call and get to know each other a little bit more personally. So thanks, listeners. I'm so honored to be here today. Jeremy, thank you for asking the most amazing question so your listeners can have such clarity and really know if they want this kind of work to activate in their life. I really appreciate you.
Not a problem. It's been my honor to have you on, and I encourage any of my listeners who think that Sarah can help them in any way, please reach out to her. Please do. I like all my guests I have on. I wouldn't have them on if I didn't believe in what they do. So I encourage you to recommend you to reach out. And as all my listeners know, You can find me on Facebook as Paranormal the New Normal / Maniacal Music Musings podcast with a S Facebook group. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter as at Juggalo Bastard. And you can find me on TikTok as at Juggalo Bastard Podcast. And you can find me on YouTube now. Just search Paranormal the New Normal. All my videos are uploaded there after set to release when they come out as a podcast because you ain't getting it early. Sorry, but and I and thank you, Peter Parker, Spider-Man. But
Thank you, Peter. You're amazing too.
and to all my watchers and listeners, I will catch you next time. I believe I will be going live again. Yes, I will be going live twice on Wednesday. Woohoo! Double on Hump Day. That's the way I like it. But I will catch you all next time. Have a good one.